You're listening to Lunch with the Finance Bunch, bringing money talk you can understand. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. I'm your host, Miss Charline, and I have my co-host over there, DJ Bander. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Nice to be here. How are we feeling today?
We're feeling wonderful. It's not raining.
No more rain.
Thank God.
It is sun shining over here, and we have a really exciting show today.
Yes, we do.
I'm very happy to have Alex Alexander in the studio with us today. How are we doing, Alex?
I'm doing great, man. You got a sexy bass voice right there.
Thank you, baby. We're working over here at Dash Radio, you know what I'm saying? So Alex Alexander is quite a musical marvel. He is an established singer and guitarist from Sweden, place I've always wanted to visit. Maybe he's going to take me.
Definitely.
He has over 30 million streams on Spotify. You heard that correctly. He's also a Yamaha music artist like myself, which is very cool, Yamaha family. And he has a new single called After Party, and it's coming out very soon, top of March on the 1st.
Yes.
So we are very excited to have him here today. And
Woo!
Absolutely. That's for you, Alex. You heard what's going on.
Thank you.
And so let's start this, Alex. So I wanted to ask you, so you've achieved millions of streams on Spotify, something that a lot of artists, hope to attain for themselves and are working towards that. How do you feel about how the music industry has changed in terms of going from record sales to streams? And what has that meant for you, financially? What is your feeling towards that? And how did you kind of go in that direction towards the streams?
I think me as an artist, I came into the streaming world at the exact right timing. Like I mean, me and my partner that I release songs with, mostly Lucas Estrada, we are like, sometimes people call us the kings of streaming. Which we figured out the way how to push music independently.
Interesting. Getting
all the support from curators, because what I feel is that streaming platforms now they love independent artists,
right?
Because they wanna have the music, right? And if they see that you are working for it, they wanna definitely push your music. And I never been in the era where it's been physical sales, and I mean iTunes downloads were even declining when I started as well. So I can't really. I don't have any experience from that side.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me because I had actually an EP that was #1 on the down-tempo charts on iTunes, but I haven't moved in the streaming world quite as much. So I really find it fascinating because it really is a pivot from where in my day, which a few years back, it was all about downloads, and now it's really pivoted just to streaming. So so you said a big part of it was curators?
Yes, I good connection with Spotify curators, constantly releasing music also. The world right now in entertainment is content, right?
Totally.
Look at a YouTuber, you gotta release a video a day.
That's
otherwise
right.
people are gonna curse you out.
That's very true.
That's a very good point.
Same with music. My fans, if I don't release a single every 6 weeks, 2 weeks after I release the single, when is the next song dropping? I'm like, I released a song 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Guys.
So they're hungry for the new ones.
Yeah, I mean, the youth and like the younger generation, they consume media and entertainment like so fast.
Right.
So a key, factor of being an artist right now is just getting a big catalog out there.
I agree.
I think East Coast artist Russ is a super good example.
Yes,
Yeah.
we love Russ.
Now I have a question because I'm old school. So they, in the old days, when I was your age, they used to do music in a different way. An artist would create a catalog of music and then release one song at a time or an album and then release the songs on the album. So are you saying that today, do you create a catalog and then release every 6 weeks, or are you constantly coming up with music every 6 weeks to push something out that next 6 week? How does that work?
I mean, preferably you try to, get singles lined up. So now I have 3 songs done, mixed, ready. But since you're releasing so much, I did 9 singles last year.
Wow.
And you sometimes you making a new song and you feel that it's better than the other one and you want to release that. So like, I do believe as an artist, you should definitely just stock up on songs. I mean, that's your ammunition, for everything. So,
wow.
So that was going to be one of my next questions, which would be like, what advice would you give to young artists who are trying to get followings like ours, trying to get themselves established? Maybe they only have a few hundred followers, but they're so hungry, they're working on it. You mentioned content. What other things come to your mind?
I mean, as an artist or anything in arts overall, I would say, one of the main things that I always tell people, like my dad, he tells me this all the time. He's like, you gotta be patient and persistent, man. Like, you know, I look at my heroes, like, and it doesn't have to be necessarily in the music business, but like Kevin Hart, great example.
Great example.
Dude, I love him as a comedian and entrepreneur, but it also took 10 years to get there.
Right.
Totally.
So, I mean, if you want to have that career, it's not going to happen in 3 months, man.
Yes. Patience is a virtue.
But I see a lot of these younger artists, you know, they're like 3 months. Oh, I don't think 3 months?
Yeah.
Dude, this is like 3 years down the line, and that's barely enough.
Well, I think it's like an element of the culture we have now. You've got these like 19-year-olds that have millions of followers and views. So I think this whole idea, and it's an age thing too. Ageism is so bad too in modern music culture, where it's like if you don't have like 1 billion in sales by 20, you're like washed up. You know, right?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
And it's so not true.
Yeah,
I mean,
I definitely don't agree with that also. I
Yeah.
mean, Morgan Freeman had his career in his 50s. Right?
Exactly.
That's when he
mean,
started.
I do believe everything is possible, man, at any time. So
Now you mentioned your dad. Who inspired you to get into music?
definitely my brother. And my brother is a circus artist, a clown.
Wow.
He's actually one of the best clowns in Europe.
That's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah, he's a very artistic person. He looks crazy. He's a lot of fun. And he always pushed me to, you know, get the feeling that everything is possible.
That's
And
very interesting.
My parents they don't work anything in music, but they're very, very supportive of the career. My sister is a singer, so we all entangled in entertainment, but very different, you know, styles of it.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, you're sponsored, you said, by Yamaha Music, which my co-host DJ Bander is also sponsored by Yamaha. How did that come about?
So I started working with Will. He's one of the social media managers. I can't really remember how we connected. I think I've been playing this silent guitar that has like an open body.
Yes.
You've seen it, right?
Yes,
no
and
idea
I'm
what
so
he's talking
excited to
about.
like actually meet somebody who knows how to rock it now.
I know.
Yeah. And you were involved, right, when they were releasing it?
I mean, some of the models, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with that guitar is that mostly it's been like jazz dudes, like 50 years old, been playing.
Interesting.
And
Okay, so I have no idea what you're talking about. What is an open guitar?
Explain it.
Yeah,
Yes,
so it's
please.
a acoustic guitar. But Yamaha made this model called a silent guitar, so it has no body, so
Oh,
it's see-through.
nice.
Yeah, super cool.
It was there at NAMM. We just missed it.
We missed it?
It was it was in the Yamaha Center. No, it's really cool. And
That
Yamaha
sounds cool.
has redone it and redesigned it several times.
That's so cool.
Super cool. So I started playing that, and I think Will saw me on some videos, and that's the way we have a very organic like cooperation, and I love that. Like we do video cooperations and stuff like that, and they've been helping pushing me. I've been on the main pages of Yamaha a couple of times. I played on their trans acoustic video that went out. So I think it got like 500,000 views in the first 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's,
Yeah, so when we think about, you know, moving forward when people, artists and labels are moving forward, a lot of it is about a team. Who would you say is, you know, who have you circled around you to kind of give you the assets that you need to move forward in your career?
Yeah, like to support it.
I mean, I've been pretty self-driven my whole career, which is a super good thing, but can also be a curse because it's hard for you to let in people. Like, because you're like, okay, are they gonna work really as hard as me? Like, it's hard to find people like that. But I gotta say, I mean, Lottie has been
I was gonna say.
super dope friend for me.
Lottie in
and
the building.
I mean,
Yeah.
Lottie is this. Do you sleep? He doesn't sleep.
He doesn't.
I'm sure of it. He's either on Instagram, some form of social media, or he's talking to people or creating deals. This man does not sleep.
That's that London
So
swag,
we got to
man.
give
That's how
him a
they roll
shout
over
out.
It's true. Shout out to
Yes.
Lottie, man.
Londonian
Shout
Gaga.
out to- yes.
Our boy over there. Yeah, so and the process of building to where you are now, like how long did you say, like when did you start doing music, and where would you say was the pivot point for you when you felt like, okay, now I'm starting to get professional in the industry?
My story started pretty fast. So I went to this special music school called Music and Production in Sweden. We had to do like auditions, like Berkeley auditions,
Right.
when I was 15,
Wow.
which was super dope because everybody in the school were very talented. And I do that's a great thing as like a young kid because you trigger each other, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after school, I got out and I moved down to Copenhagen. And I was like, okay, I worked construction because my dad owns a construction, or he's boss at a construction company. And I did that for 2 months, almost died.
Yeah, that's not
Like, that's not my life.
I know that.
I'm like, I will last 2 more weeks here. I'm too fragile for this. So I just searched for every possible gig that I could find. And I got a booker, and he booked me for like a gig in Vietnam.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the contract was 1 year. So I just went, didn't know anyone. Like, my mom was crying at the airport. She's like, we're never going to see him again. I'm like, bye.
That's awesome.
Like, I'll be fine. See
So
ya.
then we had a band that they picked together, kind of like a circuit band. Gospel drummer from the US, bassist from Canada, singer from Canada, another singer from New Zealand, very like picked together.
Interesting.
Then we played 2 years in Asia. So I did Vietnam, Thailand, China, back to Vietnam, then Oman in the Middle East.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was gone for 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
I think there's a nugget in this that I want to point out, and that is, you know, a lot of times artists or anyone who's getting into a career field that they're passionate about, they think it's going to happen in a certain way. You know, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I think the nugget in this is that when you leave yourself open, because that's what it sounds like you did, you were open to what came. You know, you wanted the success, you want success and you want opportunity, but you were open to how it came. So to go from where you were in Copenhagen and to go to another country and to set up there and become that's to have that, you know, jump your career is something that I wanted to point out, because sometimes people get stuck in the I want it to happen this way, and it doesn't always happen that way.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, my first focus was always performance.
Yes.
Like a long time. So I didn't even sing at that time at all.
Wow.
Like, I just played guitar. They had to force me to sing Bryan Adams.
Really?
Like, 69. And I was like, I can't do that shit. But I'm happy he forced me, because, you know,
He was like, that's going to make you the whole package.
exactly.
Yes.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you got to start. I was like, I'm not going to, I was never really into singing that way.
Wow.
It's always been a second thing for me. And that was a great journey for me.
Right, totally.
And
No.
also, very important, handling an audience.
Yes.
Like, this is, I would say, me as a performer, one of my key things.
Is handling of the audience.
Yeah, I played so many audiences. It's just crazy.
Because that's another thing. Like, when you're playing in other countries, you're dealing with a language barrier in some cases too, and so you really have to connect on a different level with your audience, right?
I mean, music is universal.
Yeah, I was
Right.
going to say, that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the Asian audience is amazing. Like, in China, we go on stage and you scream before they even. I'm like, you haven't even heard us yet. We might suck. But they were just amazed that, the guy is from Sweden and
Yes.
the girl is from. They were like, how is this possible? You know.
Yeah, they're really open.
That's so cool.
So that was super dope.
Yeah. And so what would you say have been the biggest artists so far that you've collaborated with, and, you know, not just maybe following wise, but that have really, you know, inspired you and brought your sound to a new level, you think?
I would say Lucas Estrada. Me and him, we grown each other like crazy. He's a straight up DJ producer, and I mean, we are building each other's success.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, we started from nothing, like in 2017, basically.
Wow, that's great.
So it went really fast, and I see him develop. Like, he's definitely gonna be a big player in the electronic world.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I want clarity here. So you mean to tell me from 2017 till now, you have over 30 million streams on Spotify?
Pulled in 25 million last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is amazing.
And so your base was far smaller just a few years back.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I didn't really start releasing until seriously 2016.
Wow. You know what? When we come back, we have to go to a station break. I really hate to, but we have to. But when we come back, I want to get more into your career, because I am just fascinated. I am really fascinated.
We got to dive into this more.
Heck yeah. This is Charline.
And I am DJ Bander.
You're tuned in to Lunch with the Finance Bunch on Dash Talk X.
Hello, everyone. We're back. I am with Charline, and we are on Lunch with the Finance Bunch on Dash Talk X. I'm DJ Bander, and we have with us the amazing Alex Alexander,
Yes, we do.
who we're speaking with, who has 30 million streams on Spotify, and his new single After Party comes out March 1st. So, Alex, let's talk a little bit about social media and the way that you have pivoted your career to a new level using it. I love talking about this with our guests because I'm a big social media guy myself, and I'm always fascinated to learn from other artists and other people how they've hustled the industry using social media. So what would you say the significance of networking on social media is for you? And I noticed you have a big following on Instagram. Was Instagram like your main hub always, or how did that work? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, social media is of course super duper important. Like right now, I see it as a pure branding platform for me as an artist. You know, doing different collaborations with different artists, different people in the arts overall is, I mean, great for growing your Insta, I would say. Yeah, I had a slow start with Instagram as well. I didn't really put too much effort into it until like 2-3 years ago as well. I kind of ramped it all up at that point, and the biggest things that I got was the guitar videos, basically. Like I used to do a lot of shred videos.
People like that. People really want to see you in the studio. I noticed that too.
True.
That like the studio videos get a lot of views and stuff like that. Did you start with teaching videos on there, or was it just more showcasing?
Just like lick videos, basically.
Right.
And I used to play, especially the silent guitar. I got really into gospel guitar for a while.
Okay.
Those kind of licks. And I have some people that used to see me, like Stevie Mackey. I got in contact with him through that. He vocal coach on The Voice. Super amazing singer. Yeah, the guitar videos was the main thing for me to build it. I think each artist and persona, you know, you got to be real with yourself. Like people can see it through if you're not really pushing a thing that you're passionate about. Right?
Yeah, totally.
It would be hard for me to like, you know, push a bra line. I'm not really. I can't do that.
Now,
Right.
do you? Yeah,
Got you.
You know, one thing that we are always talking about here on the show, and I was actually just discussing it with Brittany, who's our social media guru over here.
Yes.
Is about scheduling and timing of posts. Do you have a regimented system that you use when it comes to putting out your material, or do you kind of go with it? Because I was just talking to Brittany about that myself, which is that like sometimes I've had my best posts when I almost just go by instinct. I'm like, I just have a feeling right now that this post will pop.
Yeah.
And I go against the schedule. How do you think about that?
I think, I mean, Instagram is instant, right?
Right.
So I do believe if you polished your branding, you can post less. Like I feel like being in the music industry, it kind of feels weird to spam your followers.
I agree with that.
I mean, I understand posting one time a day, totally fine. I try to do 2-3 times a week because I want to make sure the content makes sense, right?
And it's also sometimes I feel like you also want to let the post build numbers.
Right.
Like some people are like, well, if you're already on to the next post, then it's almost like you don't let the last post bake.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's a great post, let it build and let the comments run up and, you know, people respond to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when it's an artist. I think as, you know, a fan or a listener, I like the anticipation. So when you do post, you know, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what the music is. And if I know you're only going to post a few times a week, it's almost like getting a little mini concert, you know, that I can tap into and just become a part of. And I think it feels like for me, from the other side of it, like I'm getting to know you, you know, like one song at a time, one thought at a time, and it makes it more intimate.
Yeah, and I think Instagram stories like open up you can use that as a more direct day-to-day connection, you know, and then let the post be a little bit more well thought through and like branded, basically.
Interesting. So I asked this a lot about, you know, to our guests who have large social media followings, and I would say, like, do you find that you get a lot of your work and business through the DMs on the Instagram, or do you encourage young artists to also, you know, utilize other forms of communication? Do you do like email lists, newsletters? Do you have an operation going with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely collecting everything. Emails is by far the best still because it's a personal thing, right?
Right.
And when you get an email from someone, you're like, oh, like, I mean, if I would get an email,
intentional.
Yeah, if I would get an email,
even if it's
Bruno
a promo,
Mars,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno Mars would send to me, I'd be like, oh my god, gotta check this out right now.
Yeah.
So you have to think out of that viewpoint as an artist also. Like I have a couple of hardcore fans, and if I email them directly from my personal,
they flip out.
Do they go crazy?
Yeah, totally.
And then I answer them also.
Absolutely.
What? But for me, that's only natural because I want to have this fan for life, right?
Right.
They're gonna be the ones buying the tickets when I go and play.
Right.
So I think utilizing everything that you can online, like it's it's free. It's like open. It's open market. It's right there. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people talk about that. I mean, we're big fans of like Gary Vee and guys like that. And they, you know, he always talks about how there's really no excuse right now to be able to create your own brand because it is such an open visibility. There's no more of the, you know, 2 or 3 executives in an office that decide who gets visibility.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you got on one side, you know, back in the day, if you were on TV, for example, right, when there was no cable and satellite, there's only 3 or 4 channels, basically.
Right.
So if you were, quote, on TV, that meant you were a star, period. Even if it was a whack show, you were still on because of those things. Now we have so many channels, so many different networks.
It becomes so saturated.
It's so saturated that it almost, it doesn't mean enough to just be on TV or be on radio. So on that note, how do you feel, what do you think it takes in terms of getting the real visibility and getting the traction from
especially as an independent?
Yeah.
You know, because you're building not alone, but you don't have this massive machine behind you that is the music, you know, industry. You have yourself as that. So how do you build that way?
I mean, for me, it's just to build up the branding, the content,
right?
Especially leading back to Spotify. Again, they're building me, definitely, because they're supporting my music. I feel that more and more people approach me with certain investment opportunities.
Right.
And I mean, I see that as my role, being more than, you know, just going with a major label. Sure, major labels are great, but you got to have a great deal also. Like if I could have an outside investor for my career, that will be success. So
that actually brings us to where we're going, because obviously Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
We talk about money.
We are a finance show.
Yes, we do.
Money talks. You know what I'm saying? So tell us a little bit about, you know, we obviously don't have to get into super details about your finances, but we are curious about how would you say has been the most, what's been the most, you know, lucrative, or let's say easiest to monetize aspect of your career? Do you find that you actually are making good money from the streams? Is it from from the shows, from the collaborations? And you mentioned about needing investment. So does that mean you've put in your own capital? Why don't you talk to us a little bit about how that's worked for you?
I mean, for me, I play mostly gigs. Like, so how I sustained myself since I was 19, playing gigs. I didn't have a single so-called normal job.
No, that's great.
But I hustled hard, really hard. I think the 2 last years now, definitely streaming coming into it, is starting to pay me really good. I haven't seen the higher ranks of it yet because it's so delayed. Like 2018 is going to come this year.
Right.
And 2019 comes 2020.
They be holding that so they can accrue interest, just in case people aren't knowing how it does.
Of course.
That's
exactly.
what they do.
Yeah.
It's just like when in the film industry, like they
they got your money in bonds, they collect 8%, and then
that's
they give you
and then they give it to you later.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's the hustle, yeah.
But that's where like the catalog plays in as well. Like the more, if I have 45 tracks, like currently, I'm pulling in 5 million streams a month.
That's great.
That is.
In pure numbers, that's 5 times $4,000. So 20K a month when you're streaming.
That's great.
That is amazing.
That doesn't go directly to me, of course, because there's songwriters, you know, producer here. So there's always splits.
But it still feels more organic. It's not like, and not to bash any large, you know, music companies or any of that, but it's your money that you're splitting between the people that are involved in your project.
Absolutely.
Versus you getting this lump sum of imaginary money up front and then them taking away from it. You're building towards versus getting taken away from. Is that right?
Of course. I mean, and it baffles me that most artists that also take huge advances. I know some personally.
Yes.
And they have no idea how they're gonna utilize it back, right?
Right.
Because they don't even know how much is.
And they owe it.
They owe it. That's a debt. You're taking out a loan against your craft is what you're actually doing.
Well, that's great that you're in that position, because I mean, one thing we're always talking about and emphasizing, a biggest issue is that, you know, young people have this very like right now mentality with money, and that's the quickest way to have no more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, we always talk about these stories of artists that get really great advances, even hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
But they think that they look at it as if it's just money sitting in their account. They're going to be rich forever.
Like a piggy bank.
And they just spend into it.
Right.
And so I think what's really cool and really great, knowledgeable for people who are listening and understanding about streaming is that what you're actually getting, which is really exciting and it's very impressive, is that you're getting real passive income.
Yes.
That
Definitely.
you're actually have money that you could theoretically spend and live on, and it's continuing to come in, assuming you continue to get streams, which is great, because that's something that, like, you know, a lot of times we feel is taken, you know, and it's something that they can't really take away from you, because again, you're independent.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so you own your own masters and all of that. Is that
Absolutely.
correct? And so every time, if anyone uses your music, you're getting paid again. So that's another part of,
Yeah, that's a good point, Char.
Right? So you're getting paid at least twice,
Yeah.
you know, multiple streams of income. And we talk about that a lot here, is that as artists, there should not be a reason why you should not profit from the music that you create.
Of course.
And like in my age group, I've seen it. And DJ Banner and I've talked about this too, because he comes from a very musical background, and, you know, and he was, you know, just as a child growing up. And we talked about this, and how you'll have an artist who has, you know, six awards, big awards, Grammys or something, and they have no money. They're living in a studio apartment,
Yep.
and they don't have anything to show for it, but this award that I don't think you can sell, you know? So to build this way is so intriguing to me. And for you to have such a patient approach to building your career, and knowing this is the beginning, not the end.
Oh, definitely.
You know?
I mean, the numbers are not slowing down.
Right, they're increasing.
And that's the crazy thing. So I think whoever want to support me later on, like say in a major label factor,
Yes,
they got to
come to the table.
we got to buy into each other.
That's right.
Yeah,
Instead of
absolutely.
me just giving myself away, because it's going to take longer time, but it will be worth it. in
Well,
the
and
end.
it's really impressive too. One bigger thing too is that you're making this money, you know, as an artist, not securing services. You know, like for me as a producer engineer, it's easier for me to make money because I can offer services. Like I can always mix and master albums. I can always do remixes and stuff.
Right.
So for you, it's like you have to be getting either show money, stream money, or record sales money.
Right.
You know, and so that's really, really cool. And I think it's something for, you know, it's inspiring, I'm sure, for artists, you know, who are coming up and trying to understand how they can monetize in their life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think Russ is a super good blueprint for any artist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had 11 albums before he signed a major deal.
Right.
I mean,
Grind mode.
that's insane, man.
Yeah.
And then think of, he did it the smartest way. Then he blew up the branding, and the back catalog is pulling in millions of streams, millions every day.
Right.
I mean, it's just he set up the plan right there.
Interesting.
That's cool. So I feel like you are setting this platform of building yourself as a walking corporation,
Absolutely.
with every cylinder working towards building this corporation.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to do the Kevin Hart thing, but like in
Absolutely.
music.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he always talks about, you know, you got to place it in different baskets.
Yes.
Because you can't only rely on one thing.
Yes.
You know, so shows, streaming. I'm pushing heavily licensing this year.
Yes.
Because I own the masters.
Right.
Publishing, own all the publishing.
Yes.
I own a label with my partner. So
Yes.
there's another passive income
That's
for me
right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, spreading all that out all the time.
No, that's excellent.
Ooh, I love this conversation.
Yeah, this is right up Char's alley.
I like it.
With
like it.
passive income. Yeah, and so you mentioned also about how a big part of you know, what you have done is build a reputation around your numbers and with streaming. Did you when you mentioned about the curation, how did that work with your relationship with Spotify?
So I gotta say, 2017, I got really lucky. I was here in LA. I released like 3 singles in 6 weeks, and I was like spamming every creator on earth.
Right.
And somehow, the former artist relationship guy at Spotify here, I think his name is Mark Willow, he saw me. And so he just sent me an email. He was like, my colleague from New York that works with Daniel Ek, the founder of Spotify, is gonna call you. And I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna like blacklist me. Because I sent emails to all of them.
Right.
But he called me, just asked me questions, you know, about Spotify, what I thought about it as an artist. This was right before they launched the analytics tool. So I felt that he asked me a lot of questions about the analytics tool, like how it should be formed, right?
Right.
So I had him as the direct contact, and he was like, I want to work like a couple of your songs. I'm like, great, because you never know what they're gonna do, right? And he's like, I sent him 2 tracks that I just released. He took one of the tracks, and then 2 days later he got me New Music Friday, like USA.
Wow.
As an indie artist.
Right.
That's so cool. Now, did you? I don't want to cut you off.
No,
but
of course.
That's another moment for me because I'm really learning a lot from you. So I like to throw it back out there when I learn it. But it's something that you said, and it was something that we're going to hear when Lottie comes on the show. Is that you give before you get.
Absolutely.
So even though they contacted you, they had questions for you about something they were doing. So the conversation wasn't just, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? You were actually helping them with a tool that they were creating first, and then they offered you.
I think
right?
so, yeah. That was in the early stages of, before the analytics tools really got out, which they done an amazing work with. I mean, it's super good because you can, track your listeners, see all the data and stuff like that. Very important for every aspect, I would say.
So you'd say like the majority of your Instagram following, would you say that those are people that, do they comment like, yo, heard your track on Spotify, or is it a mix of?
Totally opposite. Like they get pulled in from guitar, and then they usually convert into a fan, basically.
And then find you on Spotify and follow.
Yeah, because I feel, it's the classic platform problem. Facebook people don't want to be on Instagram.
Right.
Instagram people don't want to be on YouTube.
Right.
YouTube people kind of don't want to be on Instagram.
This is very true.
It's still very tricky to get people.
We were just talking about this, and we're also just talking about, one thing that has always been a concern of mine and why it's so important to be everywhere is because, like, for example, like I have a huge following on Twitter, 3 or 4 times the size of my following on Instagram.
Right.
And many years ago, my Twitter was insane, comments, mentions all day long. I still have the following, and the people, when I write them, respond are there, but guess what? They're not on Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So a big problem is like you can have hundreds of thousands of people, and they can suddenly become like hundreds of thousands of corpses.
Yeah, yeah.
And
definitely.
they're just like
they switch
dead followers and you off. So would you agree with that? Artists really need to be multi-dimensional. You gotta kind of be everywhere and build the relationships, right?
Absolutely, and also have a website, man. Like
yes, of course.
It costs you $20 to do a website.
Crucial.
Because you can always lead them there, and then they will be yours forever.
It's a good point.
So definitely, because you said a very strong key point there. Instagram could be gone next year.
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
You don't know, man.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to have that brand name recognition.
Exactly.
And people follow you different places. I agree fully with the website. The website is so crucial.
That
and also
landing
it shows you as an established, even though it's showing, the data shows that less people are checking for websites. It's much more about linking. It's still one of those things where if they Google you and there's no website, they're kind of like, okay, like this guy. It's kind of like back in the day when all you had was a MySpace page. It was kind of like, okay, they're a MySpace artist. What does that mean?
I think Vine is a super good example.
Oh, Vine.
Yes.
What happened?
Go back to Vine. That's so crazy because Vine was
That's true.
Vine was awesome. Vine was amazing, and you're right. It just was like, it almost like came and went. It was like, one of those like candles that burns twice as bright. It was just there and then it was just vanished, huh? Did you do a Vine?
But the Vine thing, we've interviewed people who were huge on Vine and now they're huge on Instagram. But do you see that? I don't know if you use that tool or not, but I saw it as a way for you to really build your creativity quickly. Like you had to be really strong in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
Right, to make it there.
You have to be really clever on Vine.
And clever.
Yeah, definitely.
So it like made you expand your ability to be creative.
Yeah.
Right, and your imagination.
I guess definitely some of the bigger people, they managed to transform over to a new platform. But there's probably a couple of people that lost out there.
Absolutely.
So, the whole audience.
So make sure you have that landing page, that website.
No, absolutely. And is that the link that you when you push your Instagram and stuff, do you use your website and your link, or do you normally have it to something else?
Right now it's obviously Spotify, leading them there, because that's my main point of end goal, to get them
exactly
there, turn them into listening
Spotify
fans.
Follows. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah,
that's smart. Because we were doing a whole thing and we were learning about how it's like, it used to be that people would do as many as 4 or 5 clicks to find your data. Like they're like, oh, Alex Alexander, cool. I like his vibe. I like his music. Now I'm going to go onto Google. I'm going to type in Alex Alexander music. Oh, he's got this. Now I'm going to click on this and this, and it's like that's over.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's like now it's like they want direct feed. It's like
one and
click.
done.
Here's Instagram. How can I have the music playing directly on my phone? One click.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
if their smart link doesn't work, man, they're like, screw this guy.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So we see, you know, a lot of different artists attempting to try to figure out a way to also, you know, curate, you know, sponsors and get a lot of other companies and organizations to support them. Besides Yamaha, there's been any other companies that you've worked with, and what advice would you give to people trying to get support from those sorts of companies and groups?
I mean, I think brand corporations on a higher level, that's key as well.
Yes.
Definitely, because that could be such a lucrative thing for an artist.
Right.
I mean, in any art, like designer or anything, right? But for me, music, definitely. I mean, I'm open to all guitar sponsors, basically. Me and Yamaha are mainly working on the acoustic guitars. So I have
Fender, if you're listening,
yeah, exactly.
we need some more bags for my man Alex over here. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm looking into more. For me, it's very important that it actually connects with me as an artist.
Of course.
So I'm not gonna stand there with a tea brand and be like, "Have you tried a new detox tea from John Green?"
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
you know?
I agree with that. I was actually just talking the other night where I had one of our other guests, you know, who's coming on, Savvy the Amusing, who's a really amazing comedian. And he gets a lot of opportunities too from people trying to give him ad revenue and sponsorships. But it's like at the end of the day, his people are there to laugh and be entertained by his videos. So if he starts coming on talking about, you know, you can buy cars from this lot,
Right,
then you know
not gonna
they're just
follow.
they're just gonna throw it away. They're just gonna pass on to the next post. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I mean, sorry, no hate on that, like influencers at all. But I think as an legit artist, you got to be careful with what you're aligning yourself with. That's one of the main points why Yamaha wanted to work with me.
Right.
They told me straight up because they get hit by massive people in LA.
Absolutely.
But like, if you're a bikini model, they're not gonna do a guitar sponsorship with you. Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't work.
You actually have to be dope and play. You know? It's like, I mean, I would buy the guitar if it's a bikini model, definitely. But two of them.
The two of them, right? Now, we're going to come back in a minute. We have to do this station break thing. I hate to break it up again, but here we go. So we'll be back in just a moment to finish the conversation because I want to know what a day in the life of Alex Alexander looks like, okay? So I'm Charlene.
And I am DJ Bander.
And we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. I'm Charlene, and this is Lunch with the Finance Bunch on Dash Talk X. And we're back in the studio again with Alex Alexander. I want to know, like when we went on break, I want to know, what does a day in the life of Alex Alexander look like? Because you've got so much going on. So what does your days look like?
I mean, they're very packed. So I own a label with my partner in Sweden. We are doing very well. We're actually one of the fastest growing dance electronic indie labels in Scandinavia. And we started last year.
Wow.
So my mornings are like, they already had a day in Sweden when I wake up.
That's true.
So I gotta speak on the phone. I feel like an assistant. I'm like, guys, I'm an artist. Come on.
Right, it'd be like
You're up so early, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, so up to 1, that's my, and just catch up on emails, ton of emails. We have 65 artists right now, and they're emailing me because we only 2 people.
Wow.
Doing the split
That's
of
great.
everything. Yeah.
That is amazing.
So that gives me, it's good for me because it gives me a lot of knowledge of the music industry up to date. And our distribution is The Orchard. So
Oh, that's what's up. Same as me. That's perfect.
So we speak into them every day. you
Beautiful.
know. They're super dope. I love them.
Yeah, they're good people.
Other than that, my goal is just to write every day,
Okay.
produce. I do a lot of vocal producing,
Yep.
melodyning, sitting, fixing vocals and stuff like that.
And are you on your guitar?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I don't play every day.
Really?
I know I'm a feel-based person.
Okay.
Got
So,
you.
like when I feel it, like I
That's
sit
why.
down, I play a little bit.
Got to get in the groove.
Then definitely, guitar is like meditation for me.
Okay.
And I play every other day and stuff like that. But it's longer times. You know, you indirectly use the guitar anyway. You know, with songwriting and stuff like that.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about your background. We know you come from Sweden.
Yes.
And I think before we wrap, people want to know a little bit about, when did you come here? And one thing that I find really interesting is, tell me a little bit about how you feel about the difference between how the economies have been for artists and musicians, over in Sweden versus over here. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, the US is a major, major big market, right? Comparing it to Sweden, Sweden is barely 10 million people.
Right.
I mean, in LA County, it's 20 million by itself, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the audience is so much bigger. Tons of great artists coming from Sweden, but it's not super lucrative. I mean, I played a lot of gigs in Sweden, the same gigs that kind of like our stars done. And it's just like they do the same like shitty venues as
Right.
you know a working musician would do, because there's not much more to offer basically.
Totally.
So my first out view was actually, I was in London a couple of times, England or Germany before I even settled on like I wanted to go to the US. But I knew Metallica was from California, so I was like, I gotta go there.
Yeah, man. Like, I was a big Metallica head too. Okay.
Yeah, I come from like, that's crazy. I came from like shred metal background.
Got you. That's cool.
And now I'm doing pop. But that was my beginning. So I mean, obviously the biggest bands were like from the US. Like
Interesting.
In like heavy metal and stuff.
I think actually I can really actually kind of connect you around that because I was a rock guy too, jazz sort of rock guy when I was a kid, and then I pivoted into like electronica and hip hop.
Yeah.
And I think that it gives musicians like us a unique skill set with melody and arrangement.
Absolutely.
Because to have a rock background is so much about understanding that. You know what I mean? And so when you were growing up in Sweden, you mentioned that your family supports everything you do. How did you feel about like the culture of Sweden versus coming here in terms of supporting musicians, supporting like the entrepreneur? Because that's a big part of our listeners on the show. They want to be supported as an entrepreneur and trying to start their ventures. And it's trendy here in the United States,
very
right?
trendy.
Everybody's trying to be an entrepreneur. Like nobody wants to be stuck behind the desk anymore, even though that is sometimes an impossibility. How would you feel like you were raised culturally around that?
Sweden is totally different from the US in that concept.
Right.
Because in Sweden, we don't really look like, I think any Swede like in the entertainment business can, you know, agree with me on this. It's not a massive support.
Okay.
You know, some of the biggest bands in Sweden, say ABBA, you
Right.
know, Roxette.
Yeah, I like them.
Roxette was massive in South America. Like they played for, I don't know, 40,000 people.
Right.
And Sweden refused to show them any.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's always been a strange thing in Scandinavia with that.
Interesting.
You kind of have to hit it very big somewhere, and then they maybe take you up.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
And I see the US here, people applaud success.
Yes.
Yes.
They do.
There's no jealousy, right? I mean, if you see someone, I see Drake, you know, I want to be like Drake.
Right.
Of course, he's an amazing artist, amazing entrepreneur. In Sweden, it would be more of a negative aspect of that.
Interesting.
Not with everyone, of course, but just overall. It's just, I don't know why that happened, really. It's always been like that. And it's pretty strange. So, and it's a very, Stockholm is a very tight music elite, basically.
Got you.
If you're not part of that, it's,
You're in or out.
yeah, basically. And it's such a small country again, so it's very centered there. Basically.
Interesting. And like, is pop rock something that's mainstream over there in terms of the bands that get booked at events over there? Like, who do you hear?
I gotta say the rap trap culture is
growing-
definitely picking on.
Is
yeah.
picking up over there.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, I love rap and trap. I'm hooked. Definitely.
Nice, right?
For real. I mean,
Cool.
it's definitely the most popping, you know, niche of music right now.
Interesting.
Definitely. If you look at numbers and hype, and
Yeah.
they're killing it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You don't want to release a jazz album right now, man.
It
Yeah.
won't happen.
So just so you
So
guys
now-
know, we're doing jazz. Not gonna happen this week.
Alexander, Sweet Tones.
Right. So I want to know, you know, what is your projected plan, not even for 5 years, for the next 6 months?
6 months. I'm working with a manager named Dustin Boyer. He is simply amazing. I mean, stunning dude, man. He works so hard for me. He's the person, like outside of Vladi and friends like that, that I met that is like, he's sticking his foot out for me like crazy.
For sure.
He gets hyped about me, about my energy.
Yeah.
I believe in being positive, man. Like, you know,
Totally,
we
bro.
speak on the phone and you know, like he's like, I get so hyped when I speak to you, Alex. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Okay, now call this motherfucker. Call the boss at Spotify now, today.
Yeah. Let 'em
You know, I'm like that, and he's been great there because, you know, sometimes you have to, even if you have a manager. This
Right.
is the first thing I told them. I was like, if I don't deliver, if I don't do the work, you can't do anything
This is very true.
That's a good point.
because you're taking me, say me as a product, You're showing me to all these outlets. But if I'm not even doing the work, it's impossible for you.
I love
That's such a good
that
point.
because one thing that I find that is an issue with American culture with young artists is there is an element of like entitlement to exposure
Right now.
is how I look at it, which is kind of like, I'm so great. Like, why doesn't everybody notice me? You know? And it's this huge, like, honestly, like I've just known a lot of artists like that throughout my life. And people have kind of, you know, will hit me up online and be like, you know, how have you gotten your following? And I was like, well, cause I grind it out. Like I'm not expecting anybody to just discover me. Like,
But work is a part of the equation.
Yes.
Work is the biggest part of the equation.
let's talk about like somebody like
Right?
Lil Jon. I mean, is Lil Jon shots that great of a song? No, but I can guarantee like that dude
work.
hustles his singles, hustles his stuff out there, and that's why he's rewarded on a monetary scale. It's like, you know, it would, you know, it'd be great if it was simply about having the best, most beautiful music. But unfortunately,
It's the hustle
to me,
too.
I see it as like 40% having you. Obviously, you have to be there, and the quality of the art has to be there. But at least 60-70% of it is how you're pushing it. And,
Definitely.
you know.
And I mean, a manager, in my eyes, they're there to, you know, sell you, right?
That's right.
Showcase you.
Exactly.
So that's one of the first things we spoke about, and I saw that the more the time goes, he gets even more hyped because he sees that even though no one is involved, I will still sail the ship. Man.
Right.
I don't care. Like, you with me or you don't. Like, that's it. Like, and we're positive and we work together. But if you don't want to do it, it's fine, you know. So he's been part of my journey now for like 4 or 5 months.
That's
great.
cool.
So we aiming definitely more shows.
Yes.
That's gonna be a key thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna start to play a little bit more here in LA.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, try to book some gigs. Possibly with a DJ right there. So there we go.
There you
Love
go.
to support you,
Got
bro.
the dude right here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We're gonna make some stuff happen for sure.
Now we have a few minutes, and I want to cram all this in. Number one, you have a single coming out March 1st.
That's right.
Right, and so we want everyone to support that.
Appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Download my man's single. It's
please
coming out.
download it. Yes. And so we want to know, like, how can everyone contact you? I have one question before we get to that. How many countries have you played in? Because I see that guitar over there, and you've got all those amazing.
Yeah, I think we need to see this passport.
You know, his passport is pretty much on his guitar.
Passport on fleek
Yes.
over here.
I mean, so how many countries have you played in?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I did Thailand, Vietnam, China, Oman, Dubai, so United Arab Emirates, Sweden, Germany, Holland, England, the US, and the North Pole.
And the North Pole.
The North Pole.
And the North Pole, and that's on there too.
I gotta hear about that story.
Exactly.
We're getting him in the studio. He's gonna break that down for me later.
Exactly.
So one thing that's really important before we go, we want to know how everybody can contact you.
Absolutely.
You've mentioned we've mentioned your name and stuff like that. Why don't you just tell everybody your website, your Instagram, all the good stuff.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at Alex Alexander Live, website www.alexalexanderlive.com, and then Spotify, Alex Alexander.
You heard it.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well, we want to thank you, Alex, for coming on the show. It's been an honor to have you.
You're amazing.
Absolutely. If there's anybody you'd like to give a shout out, now's a good time.
Oh, definitely. Dustin Boyer and Rick Duchovny, man. These two people, they helped me so much. They're my brothers, man.
That's wonderful.
That's cool.
We want to thank you having on. Once again, I'm DJ Bander.
And I'm Charline.
And this is Lunch with the Finance Bunch on Dash Talk X. Thank you for watching, everyone. Be sure to find us on Instagram at The Finance Bunch and listen to us every Tuesday on Dash Talk X.